Hello and welcome to NewFilmmakers Los Angeles. I'm delighted to be joined with the director of Hello From Taiwan. Love your film too much, Tiffany. But for those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at the clip.
来，好，来牵手，快点。
Tiffany, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for bringing your film to us at New Filmmakers LA. How are you doing? Okay?
I'm doing really great. Thank you so much for having me.
You know how much we love your film at our film festival, but for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of your film.
For sure. So Hello From Taiwan is a drama about a Taiwanese American family who struggles to reunite across cultural language barriers, and it is told from the point of view of a young little girl.
Well, firstly, I love the style of the film in terms of the fact that it was obviously set in the late 80s. It was in California, which I always thought to myself, wow, Tiffany's giving herself a challenge here to recapture that, which looked incredible. Absolutely fell in love with the family you gave us in this film and what they were all going through as a family. Where did the inspiration come for you in turning this story into a film?
Yeah, it started off as a single scene where it's actually based off of one of my earliest childhood memories. And that scene was me meeting my first time at airport when I was about 4 years old, and we had just been separated for about a year. But, when you're that young, you can't really recollect who your sisters are. And, from when I last met them at 3 or something like that, And so when we met at the airport, I was kind of like, who are you guys again? And because they had been in Taiwan for about a year, they had gotten really used to speaking Mandarin. And the first word that they could speak, even for the first hour of coming back to America, was just hi and hello, because they're so used to speaking Mandarin. And so they're trying to kind of remember how to speak English right then and there again. And so, but that for me, it was really funny because that was how I communicate. And that was sort of the impetus at first. And then eventually my dad, he passed away about 5 years ago. And after that, I started writing the story until something a little bit bigger, because I kind of wanted to remember who my dad was. And I wanted to remember, I just wanted to get to know my parents again, honestly, in a different way. And just remembering him and writing a story sort of helped me closer to him. And then eventually the short film got into the AFI Directing Workshop for Women program, and that's where I attended for about a year. And through that program, I made Hello From Taiwan.
Amazing. Well, one of the best programs in the land. So, really, really, really fantastic and well-deserved. What was fascinating as well is you really took this from, a child's perspective. And we'll talk about your wonderful cast in a second. I'm just so curious, on a side note, do you remember those earthquakes? Was that something you remembered as a child?
I do remember the earthquake. That earthquake was when I was about 4 years old, and 5 years old maybe, the San Francisco earthquake, and that hit. Well, I was living in San Jose at the time, but we definitely felt it. And for some reason in my mind, I think it was like 5 p.m. or something like that, to be honest. It was definitely in the middle, because I think that's how you recollect things. It's like the scariest thing ever. And so, that definitely happened. And I was able to kind of use that memory and remember that was a time that me and my mom were together just by ourselves, and kind of was a special time that I was always with my mom only. I had it all to myself.
Yeah, you don't forget moments like that, but I thought you captured it so vividly from that sort of child perspective. Let's talk about your cast, because for obviously taking it from firstly, you're goodness me, the most beautiful young humans you got in your film. You know, it was a joy just to sort of see these brilliant young actors just, you know, be kids, you know, and go through this. It was wonderful. How was the casting process for both the children and the parents as well?
Yeah, the casting was really such a trip at first because I really needed, you know, the two parents to be able to speak both English and Mandarin and Taiwanese. So that's actually really rare to find. It usually means that they are Taiwanese if they speak all three languages, and to speak it pretty fluently and understandably is actually something hard to find in a lot of younger generation Taiwanese people. But luckily I found those two actors. And then I had a great casting director. Her name was Suzanne Yavas, who helped me cast the children. And, you know, we did like a big search and everything like that. We had a few different callbacks and all that stuff. And obviously the ones that I chose were the ones that stood out because they were so good.
Yeah.
And they also had chemistry, which I think is so unique to have within a lot of kids. A lot of people, sometimes kids don't always get along, you know, but I was really lucky that they all really loved each other immediately.
Oh, that's, well, of course, the two older sisters, you know, give the younger one a bit of a hard time up until, you know, a certain moment. God bless them. But I'm just so curious when you know, there's quite high stakes in this as a family and what they're going through. And then also, you know, directing young children as well is also another challenge. And I'm just curious for you as a director, Tiffany, what's your kind of approach and how you work with your actors?
Yeah, I really love to have one-on-one time with each of them. I think that to me is really cementing of just for them to trust you, honestly. You want your actors to always trust you in because they are giving you, you know, a full range of emotions, and they are presenting themselves and through you, you know what I mean? So you really want them to trust you. And so I think that was like really key for me to have one-on-ones with them, you know, talk them through their characters, let them own their characters as well. I always ask actors to develop their own characters and their histories and their backstory because I want them to own it. And then eventually I'll take all that information and make sure that it's consistent with everyone else. So I think that was really key. And then I also had a few rehearsals where the actors just got to know each other and feel comfortable with each other, or even just hang out with each other. Like Brandolyn and Janet, who play Christy and Joyce the mom. We just had, you know, a time that we hung out outside at Griffith Park, and they just bonded together as you know, as friends. And I think that was really helpful for them to feel like they had alone time as, you know, like a mom and child, honestly.
No, I mean, it just looked like just a real family, and they all just were they're having that little sibling rivalry like a real family. It just felt like amazing. It was really great to watch them all. And you know, and again, it was hard because obviously, you know, a lot of families do go through this kind of, you know, separation and how that affects the family, but particularly coming from two different countries. One of the things that I absolutely, you know, thought it was spot on and was fascinating to watch was obviously this was set in the late 80s. What was some of the kind of, what was that experience, you know, working with the production team and having to sort of really articulate that time period as well?
Yeah, that was the fun part.
Because, yeah, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, and I think also, you know, along with that, Taiwanese flag colors and American flag colors are exactly the same, which is red, white, and blue. And so I really love to incorporate that within everything. So it's a combination of both American and Taiwanese items and pop culture, obviously, as you can see and hear within some of the little vignettes, and talking through that. Like I had a huge lookbook that both me and my production designer and DP all collaborated with together. And we just kind of thought about the themes and how that all tied together, and like, you know, what made Christy what was her style in her wardrobe, or what was, you know, the two girls who had just come from Taiwan, what would their stuff look like? And then also just like finding a bunch of stuff that was actually from my sister's past, like one of the backpacks that was from Taiwan was my sister's backpack when she was young. So it was really fun to use that. And then we found actually something almost similar to that through a friend who came to America almost during the same time that we were shooting, she arrived, or I asked her if she could search for some backpacks that look like the old school backpacks, and she found one.
Oh,
so
cool.
I know. So she found a lot of the props for us. I was like, we need these little specific items and that, you know, just like little hints of stuff that you wouldn't normally think. You could not find them here in America at all, you know? So just like little touches like that really made such a difference. Or even some of my mom's like vintage suitcases made it in there. You know, like there's a lot of random stuff.
It adds to the magic. It adds to the magic. You know, again, it's a really heartwarming story of just, you know, just love, just love that's there, and kind of, you know, also growing up with like understanding yourself and how you feel about someone, or how life has changed. What did you kind of want, like, I mean, obviously it's got some personal elements, but what did you kind of want your audience to take from this film? Because I mean, I took so much from my perspective, but like, you know, I mean, there was just so much in there in terms of family and love and how we treat each other.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, obviously it's a family divorce separation story or reuniting of one. And I think we see a lot of stories like that. But I think for my film in particular, I wanted to kind of reflect upon the immigrant experience of what that looks like too, you know, because I think that was definitely a huge part of why my parents separated in the first place, that there was a lot of strife that they had to go through, and maybe their marriage wasn't as easy as it could have been if they were just here in America before, you know what I mean? Or they were just Americans. So I think there's a lot in that. And then also the fact that both of my sisters lived in Taiwan for a year is super interesting. And I think there's a lot of families that sort of have a cross-country international background or history. And I think that complicates a lot of things and makes things a little bit more complex. And I just wanted to kind of share that, you know, that it just doesn't always look like a single story, or there's a lot of stuff in the background that happens during this kind of situation.
I mean, again, I mean, I think people don't realize how different this country really is, and how much of an adaptation it can take coming from another country. You know, it's a totally different. I mean, it is its own thing, the United States, you know, and there's a lot to sort of learn and understand here, and there's also, you know, it's hard because, you know, as well, you've got things that you kind of grew up with that you were used to culturally, and then you come here and it's like a whole different ball game here, and how that is split between the families. I thought you just really just articulated that so well, and how it's a continual thing in this country to sort of really understand its dynamic. And I just thought that was, you know, really portrayed, you know, so beautifully with this family, and just the hardness of separation as well that was also there. What has it been like sharing this film with other film festivals? I know we're kind of in the virtual world right now, but what's it been like to share this amazing film and share it around to other film festivals too? We certainly love having it here. For
sure. I mean, I'm very happy to be part of your festival. It feels very special to me amongst all the festivals, to be honest. And I don't love the virtual experience as much, because I love meeting people in person and I love the experience of being in a theater, obviously. But I also think that there's something also very interesting about it. And I'm you know, to put it positively, there is a lot of cool ways that you can connect with people in that sense. And you know, whether because people can connect with each other, you know, in different spaces or locations, obviously, as we all are right now. And I think that's pretty cool. And it's been proving to me that there is like humanity and hope at the other end of the screen, you know? And
yes,
cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
And you know, for people to receive the film in different ways and them reaching out to me has always obviously meant a lot to me. And I think some people really relate to the story and some people don't, but I think it's cool to see what the reactions are. And it's just been a really great experience to share it.
Yeah, no, I'm so glad that you made it and you brought it to us. I really am. And it's been very special to be part of our film festival. What is next for you, Tiffany, that you're working on or working through, or what's next on the horizon? I know in this difficult time.
Well, I'm working on Hello From Taiwan as a TV show. So I've written the pilot, I've written a series Bible, and I'll probably be pitching within the next month or so, maybe 2 months.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see. I'm crossing my fingers. I really would love to bring this to a TV show and just have it live in people's homes. And then and then I'm also working on a feature that I'm calling a psychedelic drama because it's set in the 70s and has a lot of drugs in it. But it's really about a woman who's searching for her sister and is trying to reconnect with her on a maybe post-traumatic level in a way. And then I'm developing another TV show with my partner, and it's a psychological thriller, and it's about a little bit like hitting themes of ageism and mental illness, but then also having kind of like a fun backdrop of like modern day Chinese mythology characters coming to life in a modern day sense. So yeah, I'm really excited about all these projects and everything. Yeah,
I want to watch every single one. Like, I really do. They all sound fantastic. My goodness. Well, I better let you get going because you got a lot of projects going on. You know, goodness me, it's very exciting. But no, Tiffany, we're so grateful to have you. I can't wait to see more of your projects. But I'm just curious for you. But I know you're so early, obviously, in your career right now. For any filmmaker out there, you know, you've got a very inspiring voice. Is there any piece of advice that you can share that maybe you go by, particularly want to kind of follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I would definitely say, well, besides doing all the obvious things, which is study movies, right? Don't just watch it once, watch it a few times, analyze it, see why it's working and why it doesn't work in some cases, or what the compositions are like, or who are the characters, what kind of stories and themes are really going through the film. And secondly, I want to encourage people to really get to know themselves. And I know that sounds really cheesy, and I'm not trying to sound like a self-help book, but I think that, you know, the core of who we are as filmmakers and the way that we express ourselves comes from knowing who we are. And so I think if you can journal a lot, take a lot of time to reflect, make space for yourself, you know, go on trips by yourself or something, do the artist's way, you know, just like literally just take the time to understand what types of stories that you really want to tell and how you want to tell them, because I think that's uniquely going to always be yours. And so, you know, you're going to always make something unique that no one else can ever make, if that's what you're really listening to, is a core of who you are. So that's definitely my advice.
I love it. And The Artist's Way, a very good book.
Great
you know,
book.
and I love that you encourage people just to go and discover themselves. We don't often hear that enough. We're sometimes too afraid to look at ourselves. You know, and I think it's such an important thing to do. Well, Tiffany, I'm so proud that you're part of our alumni now, and welcome to our New Filmmakers Los Angeles family. But thank you for bringing, you know, Hello From Taiwan was a very special film, and I'm so glad that you brought it to us. So thank you very much, Tiffany.
Thank you, Danny. I really appreciate your insightful questions.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.